Mayuresh, there is some articles in the paper that are calling it a top out on crude. Of course, Piyush and me have a different opinion on that. But nevertheless, what's your call on crude? And keeping that in mind, how would you approach aviation, paints and OMC stocks?
Morning, Sarina. No, I think largely I'm no crude expert, but if one probably assumes that the correction that we are probably seeing specifically in terms of Brent pricing at this point of time, and again the kind of retracement that we are probably seeing in terms of the rupee levels against the dollar, it should benefit these companies provided that the prices both in terms of Brent as well as the rupee movement stabilize at the current level. Now the uncertainties surrounding both these elements in terms of global volatility and what probably happens in terms of Iran sanctions actually going through and what kind of a pseudo effect does it have on crude and subsequently on emerging economies and the currencies which affects the rupee as well. I think that's a large unknown at this point of time. So I think sentimentally, I think when these factors probably start moving in our favor, I think these sectors do get beneficially impacted. But I think the long-term benefits from an earnings perspective is when stability is probably seen in these prices. So yes, I think Brent coming down is sentimentally positive, but unless it stabilizes at the current level, the long-term benefits are not percolated into earnings.
Mayuresh, I want to talk about Wipro. It's the top gainer on the street, although only about 1%. Maybe the gains would have been higher if the market sentiment wasn't so negative. What's the sense? Because if you take that one-time hit away on the bottom line, then the numbers were pretty strong. I mean, it was a beat on revenue. The margins have been strong. The guidance also fairly steady. BFSI is showing a revival.
Morning, Dipanshu. Yes, I think in terms of what they've delivered in terms of revenues adjusted for the one-time restructuring hit that they've taken, the numbers optically are better than what the street expected. The second element again is the revival. I think the BFSI probably is showing signs of revival taking place, but the health plan services, the HPS unit for Wipro and the communications unit, I think the revival thereof is going to be extremely critical. In fact, if it has to get even close to its peers. So the kind of guidance that it is given, 1 to 3%, clearly lags what their peers are doing at this point of time. And yes, I think it's a very clear kind of a scenario where Wipro is trying to regain its ground. But again, I think these two key verticals and the revival thereof is going to be critical in terms of their earnings trajectory actually improving over the next few quarters. Now, optically again, I think the second half has been far better for Wipro historically compared to its peers. So I think if they're able to deliver even in the mid-range of what they have probably given out as a target, I think the street might accept that. But again, I think discretionary spending patterns in these two key verticals hold key. So again, I think the larger players is somewhere that we still keep our hopes on and we remain optimistic about and very, very selective within the mid-cap pack. Wipro, I think, has to show consistent performance to probably get upgraded and have the conviction to probably go out and buy the stock.
All right, that's the view on Wipro as well. Gaurav,